Dr. London is calling. Hello, welcome back to Student Dr. London Calling. I am Student Dr. London. I'm very excited to have you all for another episode of Student Dr. London Calling. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can be up to date on all the videos. Videos drop every 2 weeks on different topics that you all would want to talk about. I mean, if you haven't already watched the other videos, go ahead and watch those and comment, do the little things that y'all do. But today is really interesting topic. We're going to talk about faith and medicine. So as we are going along this journey through life, we tend to lose our faith and question what God is doing, especially like when we lose people, when we go through our own illnesses and circumstances. It's hard to keep the faith and try to figure out what God has planned for us. And so I called up Dr. Iggy. He is an orthopedic surgeon, and he is going to talk about just the experiences that he has had while going through this journey of life, and especially through medicine, and how he kept his faith and kept his trust in God. So I really hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, here's Dr. Iggy.
Hey, my name is Matthew Benegui. I'm an orthopedic surgery resident in Dallas, Texas. I have an online presence. People call me Dr. Iggy. Online, I make a lot of goofy videos. One of the most common things I get asked is, how does my faith affect my experience in medicine? And I think it's really cool because people talk about faith. You can apply it to any perspective of your life, and not many people talk about how it affects their experience in terms of medicine. So I think a lot of my perspective of faith and medicine has to do with my life experiences and even how I came to faith in Jesus Christ specifically. Well, when I was about 10, I had an uncle who was really sick in the hospital, and all I knew is that my family said he's gonna die. That was my first time praying and crying out to God and asking, like, Lord, can you please save my uncle? And 2 weeks later, I get to the hospital. They're like, yeah, we don't know what happened. We don't know. There's a miracle, but it seems like he's going to live. My uncle gets healed, gets out of the hospital. His whole life changes. He stops drinking alcohol. He gets married, has kids. He's now a devout Christian. And so that was why I initially found faith in God. Fast forward, I've always had an interest in science and engineering. Get into medical school, and I am learning about everything about the body. It's the most exciting thing. I'm not in college anymore where I'm learning about history, which I don't care about. I'm learning about how this body works, and I'm just amazed. You learn about the reproductive system and what are the chances of having a child, period. What are the chances of having a healthy child? What are the chances you are you based off of the genetic codes we have, which is DNA, and thinking about all the intricate things that make us who we are in terms of the DNA message that turns into RNA, that turns into protein messages and building, that makes all these kinds of proteins and enzymes that make our bodies work different ways. And the more I get into medicine, the more I realize, like, wow, this is wild. If this all happened by chance, wow, what are the chances? What are the chances that I'm me? One thing you'll learn is that from one human to the next, there's a very small percent of DNA that's different between the two of them. But obviously it makes a world of difference because they're completely two different people. Height, color of skin, build. And so all those things that amaze me point me to my faith in God. And for me, it always is like a recurring cycle that the more I study the human body, the more I learn about creativity, because I don't think this could happen by chance. And I always try to challenge it, and God always shows me another creative thing. You probably heard of laminins. People often talk about that. It's like the shape of a cross, and it's one of the major connective tissue proteins for keeping like tissues from falling apart. And for some people look at Christianity and say that's the cross, like the cross keeps us all together. There are so many examples of scientific things that will blow your mind and kind of point to God. But I would say that's just the theoretical portion of my experience in terms of faith and medicine and how my faith affects my understanding of medicine. When I was in my third year of medical school, doing my first rotation in internal medicine, I actually came from doing classwork where I felt pretty comfortable, and now I'm on my first rotation and I actually feel horrible. I feel like the dumbest person on the floor. I feel like I don't know anything about these patients or how to apply the knowledge I learned 2 years prior in medical school, and I was actually going to quit. I was thinking about how I could use my kinesiology degree. Well, I actually had two patients that made me stay in medicine, really mainly one, and he had a infection of an orthopedic implant and had sepsis, which means he had a really broad infection. They were telling me he's gonna die. Actually, one of my mentors in orthopedics told me, that was his patient, he said, "Oh, I don't think he's gonna make it." And I don't know why, all the science and all the knowledge, it just felt like none of that was gonna help in that moment. Well, for some reason I had this conviction to pray for him, and I had this passion for him. This guy was intubated today, he couldn't talk to me. I really didn't know anything about him, his family or anything, but for some reason I just felt so connected. I was like, no, like I can't see him go out like that. I prayed for him every day. Every time I came into the room, I talked to him like he was awake, because they said hearing is one of your last things to go. So I was like, let me talk to him like he's here. Lo and behold, weeks go by, and now he's getting better. Kidney function is getting better. They take the tube out. He's talking now. And I remember talking to him and saying, man, I'm so thankful for you that you made it out. And I was praying for him. He's like, man, yeah, thank you so much. So we built a relationship. Well, maybe 2 or 3 days after he's already awake and talking, I was like, okay, well, you good. I don't need to be here hanging out with you. Well, I was gonna leave one time hastily, and he's like, wait, stop. And he's kind of in tears. He said, hold my hand. I was like, hold your hand? It's a grown man. Like, hold your hand for what? He's like, hold my hand like you used to. And we shared a moment, and it basically taught me that, one, I believe there's a power in prayer, and two, beyond all the science, there is something more than the science, more than what we're doing that affects people in such a meaningful way that you can't really quantify. And so when people ask me about my understanding of faith and medicine, that's the story I tell, because it's ultimately why I think I'm still here.